Okay, this is where I'm at on this guy now. I had another project. I worked on this, then I went back to, I did that Cowboy to Indian project. Now I'm back on this. You know, it's nearly time to be in the Christmas spirit. From the bottom of the coat down, I hadn't touched. From here up, it's pretty much done as far as the coat, other than the fine details. And up here at the face, I'm fixing to work on putting the face in with all the details and work on the hat a little bit. I've cut the tip off the hat, or the top off the hat, the little tip that was on there. Cut that off. I'm going to shape that and cut it in to fit the head, because it's kind of big here. First thing I'll do is go around here with I'll go ahead and show that. Get the final head shape around up under the hat. This area here needs to be cut back quite a ways. I'll just cut that and look. That's pretty close there. And I'll just work this all the way around the piece until I have a good head shape for this guy. And just kind of feeling it to make sure it's the same, and it's pretty well set in at the right place as far as I can tell it right now. And again, I just do that and carve that, and I can put the tool in the same place and tell how much I need to take off over here. And that's where this big chunk of waste wood is, right over here in this area, and get that. And I'll just kind of feel with my fingers. That's pretty good. This needs to be taken down right there. And now what I'll do is look at where these lines are up under the hat. I think that's a pretty good place there. Like this line is where my fingernail is, right there. And you can see how much further this sticks out. So I'll cut this in to match there where it'll look like his hat's sitting on his head. Got a better fit for a hat. I'm gonna get that where I'm looking right at it. And I know you can't really see, but just cutting down the sides of the hat. An awkward angle to do and get on video. This is a deal where pushing it from the back with these legs, if they would have been carved already, it might. That's why a lot of times I do this, where I'm holding the front of it, pushing from the back. And while I'm doing videos, if I'm not doing videos, I don't have to worry about it. But while I'm doing videos, the camera will focus on my hand or arm. So I think I remember to do the manual focus, but okay, that's the way that looks. And then on this side, you can see how it's just a little wide. It's kind of hard to see at that angle, but the face comes in. And at this point, I just carve a line straight across the hat where it'll be where the forehead is. That leaves me a little bit of play wood right there, a little waste, where I can shape it maybe a little different than I did last time. So I can do the same thing from the back. The back is pretty close. All right, now they're doing a lot of thinning, which I don't want to do until I put the face in. And I use this big sweep, flat sweep to shape the hat. And here's a look where I bandsawed that off. And I'll make this cut. Let's do it over here. And you can see how all this fuzzy stuff, what a change it makes. You can see it better pulling it up like that, but how it really makes the grain pop out. So you can see that little part of the grain there and that little part there, but when you cut that away, really looks neat. If your knife and chisels are real sharp, just put a polish on the wood, or seems to put a polish on the wood. Technically, it doesn't really put polish on there. Like that dark grain that runs right there, just really brings it out. Nothing like getting a drink of coffee and realizing that flake of wood has went over there and gotten in your cup. Just get a small gouge and go in here and run it down the nose for the eye mound on the inside. Get the little bigger one to get the mound built up, the eye mound. And having carved several of these, I know about where to go with it. So it carves pretty fast. At this point, just going to be deepening stuff up. Just going to be going over that with a smaller gouge. Now I'm going to a V-tool to deepen the cheeks. Go up the side of the face. Over here I'll go up the side of the face first. And come in from this way. Also use that to go under the nose and make the cut about to where the nostrils are going to be. I'll do not right now, but I'm going to do a deal of a close-up of just doing an eye. I'll do all these different parts, I guess, the way I do them, and I don't do them the same every time either. But here, just taking a little bit of a sweep and rounding the cheek. And just let the curvature of that tool make the outline for the cheek over there. And turn it over and let it carve the temple. And get this little piece between the the brow line, get that out of there. And I'm ready for my nostril tool to finish shaping the nose. Now I like to leave the actual cutting of the nostril till after I've got the nose shape like I want to. You cut that nostril and then have to work on the nose, it can get out of whack. And I'll just drive that up for the eyebrows, brow line, the little ridge there, cut that part out from between there. And the nose is kind of flat, so I'm going to put a little more taper to it, just like that. Got a nostril set in, and I am going to mark it over here because I do have a tendency to get out of whack a little bit. Open that nostril up a little bit where you can breathe. As long as he doesn't have those East Texas sinuses. I'm making these cuts taking out this wood right up next to the nostril. You can go up to the nostril. It's probably safer to go away from the nostril. But either way, I also use this tool to add a little more definition to those lines that the bigger V-tool cut. And that's why I like when you go up there like that and you start picking, you don't want to knock the nostril off. So it's probably better to go from the nostril out. But either way will work as long as you get it done. It's kind of an interesting study on the eye that you really don't have to carve the eyeball and have pupils and everything in it to make it look like an eye. And it's I got to thinking about the scale of these, and like if it was true to scale, how big would that eye be? And you know, if you're thinking about a guy smiling, it's this size, and that'll already make his eyes kind of squint up. He won't have big eyeballs sticking out. So I do that. And that being said, I have carved eyes in these with the eyeballs and pupils. So again, just whatever happens. And to make it look like he's smiling, I cut a little S-shape cut going up here, kind of like those sound holes in a fiddle. Put some eyebrows lines up there. Okay, that part's done. Now to cut in the mustache. I don't know if you can tell, I've got that way too big. It needs to be up about like that. So I'll take the old U gouge and carve back up to that line just to keep from having the V-tool do so much work. Does a whole lot if you can get this to really curve up there right next to the cheek. Make that look better. And I need to give him, I things bother me from time to time, and like that nostril needs to be really cleaned out. There you go. I like to give him a, first I like to kind of balance out the sides where, and you can kind of see how that left this little, what I'm going to use is the edge of the lip there. Lips will be about in the middle of the eye, so there's to there. And I want him a little smiling, so it's really going to curve back up. And I'll get a smaller gouge just to kind of fine tune it. This needs a little bit of sharpening. And then I'll get the V tool, the small one, and go in here and kind of separate the lip. Small gouge and cut in the corners where they go up toward the middle of the eye. Now for the beard, I'll just go in and make a series of S cuts. By S, you know what I mean, just like that shape, or based on that shape. They may not all be full S's, but and I start with a big gouge and work down, being careful not to nick the mustache. And you don't have to have the S's all going in the same direction, but I think it kind of helps, and it's kind of easy to do that, because if you can go in here and put them in this way or the other way, but you can do both, like go in that way and then turn them back the other way and have little more, instead of having these curves in the hair, it'll be like balled up, like it'll be really like little curly ringlets, not just kind of a wavy curl. I like the wavy curl for these guys. A wavy beard. Then take one of the smaller gouges and just, won't do every little cut, but just emphasize some of them. Where you see a place that's too flat, like a couple of little cuts. And I'll come back in here with that little small V tool. Like earlier I said about how busy this part is where the beard meets. In fact, I'll use the bigger V tool. I'll do it now. Like, main thing you're going to see is that furry piece of the sleeve. Then the beard. And the bag is going to go underneath the beard. Start there with a small one, and where it gets up there to where it can be a little bigger. I like to cut that in toward the face and then come back out. It gives a little more shape to the beard. I kind of like that. And over here I'll do the same thing, but don't have a lot of wood to work with over there. Okay, another thing that I do for the face, and then I'm going to get off of that, is I will take a little detailing knife, or what I have is a detailing knife, and just cut through that V tool that V tool cut that I made for the actual eye. That'll make it a little more shadowy, and also when you put the finish on there, it'll help emphasize that. Okay, a few little clean up places here and there, and Well, the bag V-tooled, outlined. These are really, I really enjoyed doing these. I was, at the original deal, I was going to do 50 of them, and so I got the rough outs, ordered them, and once I started on them, I messed up a couple. They broke, and had to go to firewood, and so then I was like, well, maybe I'll have 45, and I thought 50 was a good number, but then once I got to carving, I was like, man, 50 of anything for me is a lot of the same thing to carve. So I don't know what I'm down to now, but it's pretty near its end as far as me carving anymore. I'll go in and design a different shape, different little cowboy look on it, and then that'll be that. Detailing the hair, just gonna take a U-gouge and just make, there's not much to this. Use the same tool to do the fur on top of the coat, and this can be left off. You can just go to the coat, to the hair. And the same thing over here on this side, just I do like to curve those cuts just to give it some kind of some movement, but just straight cuts are okay. I'll carve in some texture on the bag, kind of like where it gathers up, where he's throwing it over his shoulder. Just do that with that big V, and then come in and make some emphasis cuts on those. Don't want to work it too much. It doesn't need to be too busy. Just get the idea across that there's a bunch of wrinkles in it there.